Well, it is miserably hot out here again in Vista today, as it always is, which is why I have opted to live elsewhere in North County. Although some people apparently decided that's not the best in their best interest or in the best interest of their children, and have decided instead to opted to live in Vista. I just scheduled the supervised visitation, wherein I can finally see Everett and Grace for the first time in a few months now. And I have never been so disrespected in my entire life. It was egregious, and I don't think they realized I was bilingual, and they were talking trash right in front of me on the phone. It wasn't specific, so I can't, be too angry and press charges, but it was very leading and very derogatory in tone. They referred to me numerous times as especial. Especial in a derogatory sense. And then at the end of the conversation, I explained to the woman doing the intake that in fact, yo comprende todos. I knew everything she was saying while she was saying it. Apparently, I had promised the kids that I would bring their laptops to them. I know they were very excited about that. And now I was told under no uncertain terms that I was not allowed to bring the laptops for the children. In fact, very specifically, not allowed to bring the laptops for the children. Because Linux-based laptops are somehow... There's somehow something wrong with that. I'm not really sure what anybody could think of as wrong with that. But I'm not allowed to give the children the laptops, and I'm also not allowed to discuss the fact that I'm not allowed to give the children the laptops. Even though we've talked about it on the video chat several times, so now they're going to be asking me about it repeatedly, and I am not allowed to say anything about it. I'm not allowed to say, I'm not allowed to give you the laptops. I'm not allowed to say, I'm being prohibited from giving you your laptops. I'm not allowed to discuss the laptops at all with the children, even though we've discussed it at length already, and I've promised numerous times that I would in fact be bringing the laptops. So, yeah, unbelievably disrespectful in there. Unbelievably disrespectful. And of course, it's in the ghetto, right across the street from where ghetto people choose to live. El Grande Blanco es muy especial. Each visit will be at $120. The intake was $80. I'm getting 4 visits before they leave, hopefully. Knock on wood, there's no wood in here. Which means my final 12 hours of visitation that I'm going to get with my children, possibly for more than a year, maybe for more than 1 year. Those 12 hours of visitation are going to cost me $560, 80 of which I've already paid directly to a woman who was disrespecting me directly in front of me on the phone with another woman in a foreign language, which I understood completely. Comprende todos. Saba, más o menos. Comprende? Todos. Of course, they're watching CNN because corporate news is educational to these people. Never mind the fact that CNN has been caught lying thousands of times just in the last year, probably millions of times in the last decade. And I'm sure that they think there's a huge fundamental difference between CNN and Fox News, which of course is just an illustration of their woeful ignorance. In fact, there's fundamentally no difference between Fox News and CNN. They are both corporate lying media outlets who pander to different bases, but other than pandering to different bases, have no fundamental difference from each other. I asked the woman there if she'd heard of a clinical psychologist of some repute. She'd never heard of that clinical psychologist, which is troubling because she is, in fact, in the arena of dealing with people who have gone through psychological trauma and doesn't even know one of the most noted experts in the field. But I've come to expect to lower my expectations of professionalism when we're dealing with divorce industrial complex personnel. And sadly, my expectations are being met roundly again. She was wearing a cross on her necklace, so I began discussing biblical matters, which she promptly rebuked, while also dismissing in a dismissive tone. It was also another sign of disrespect. I think the most troubling aspect of this entire thing is that, once again, I have the sneaking suspicion my situation is not at all unique. I have this sneaking suspicion there are probably millions of men who have never done any kind of physical violence, never been accused of doing any kind of physical violence, have no criminal record, have no accusation of a criminal record, have no history of drug or alcohol abuse, have no history of any kind of malfeasance towards anybody, and yet are restricted from seeing their kids without paying exorbitant fees to supervisors who are, in general, are uneducated about the topic in which they are currently professing to be a professional. And my guess is that most of these dads are also being roundly disrespected in much the same manner that I was being disrespected. So I can't say that any of this is a surprise or unique or interesting. I'm not sure why I'm posting a video of it. It's not that compelling. This is just my experience. I'm cataloging it for the world to know in the hopes that by talking about it and discussing it, maybe as a species we can move forward and make improvements in what is obviously a grossly inept and broken system that is not doing what's best for the children, that is not doing what's best for the alienated parent, and honestly, at the end of the day, probably not doing what's best for the custodial parent, who, in most cases, is probably the one guilty of promoting the alienation in the first place. It's a continual feedback loop of unpleasant unkindness and a complete lack of humanity that most closely resembles a meat grinder that probably most adversely affects the children directly. Absolutely disgusting that our society puts up with this, allows this, and that this not only is an unusual circumstance, but probably completely the norm. But on the plus side, there is a chance I'm going to get to see my kids 3 hours twice a week for the next 2 weeks, for a grand total of 12 hours, which will probably be the last 12 hours of visitation I have of my children for probably at least close to a year, if not more. And let's keep in mind that I was not the one doing the cheating in the marriage, that I was not the one doing the alienation, that I was not the one vaccinating my children with neurotoxins, that I was not the one who was married less than 3 months after the divorce to a guy on government assistance. I am not the one who has moved the children across state lines twice now. I am not the one who has alienated the children from their entire other side of the family. Not just the parent, but also the grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody. I am not the one who has told the children numerous bad things about the other parent. I did not tell the children that dad rhymes with bad. I did not tell the children that their father is the worst person in the world. I did not tell the children that their father needs to get a job. I did not tell the children that their father needs to follow the rules. Nor did I say any of those things about the children's mother. I held my tongue and did not tell the children anything about the numerous dates with numerous different men that the children may or may not have gone on as an accompaniment to one of their parents. A list of different suitors. I do that. I did not perjure myself in 2 different courtrooms. I did not get a bogus restraining order against somebody who had done anything wrong to me or my children. I did not hire a lawyer to relentlessly pursue the other parent, financially and otherwise. I did not send a state agency after the children's parent in order to be employed forcibly by the state. I did not do that. I did not leave all the children in another state, despite having a very large and empty moving van. I did not tell the children that they were not allowed to have some of their belongings if the other parent brought them to a meeting place where the alienated parent was finally allowed to see the children. And let's be clear, I didn't alienate the children from that parent in the first place for 18 months, violating numerous court orders. I did not do that either. And yet now I'm being disrespected in the ghetto, in a strip mall, by a woman who doesn't know much about her profession, in front of, directly, in a foreign language that I completely understand. Comprende todos. La Papa de Dinos, muy especial. La Papa muy especial. Comprende todos. This process has been beyond excruciatingly insane. And if anything, lends further credence to the fact that our society is rapidly devolving into a state more closely resembling the movie Idiocracy than ever before. Amazing. Just amazing. It's an amazing world we live in. The gross corruption and malfeasance that must have been performed by so many people for so long for our society to have gotten to the point that it is now is frankly unfathomable. I mean, it's difficult to even comprehend, much less recognize as reality and then somehow try to codify into your own thought processes without completely losing your mind. I'm not alone. There's probably close to 50 million dads out there experiencing something similar to what I'm experiencing. And my guess is that 49.9 million of them have never done any physical abuse, mental abuse, verbal abuse. Probably at least 50% of them are focused on healthy eating, kindness, outdoor physical activities, you know, positive things for the children. Probably the majority of them. And yet they're probably in my same exact situation. It's amazing. In a horrifying and very undignified manner. You get one bad court ruling by one idiot judge, and that immediately snowballs into repeated bad rulings because everybody assumes the first judge found something valid to base his opinions on, whether he did or not. And thereafter, everybody outside of the court system also treats you like garbage because there's already been a legal ruling against you. So why would they think differently? It's amazing and horrifying, and the reality we live in. Signing those papers in there, agreeing to that arbitrary set of rules that is not in the best interest of the children, despite what they say, was humiliating, dehumanizing, and disgusting. And then being openly mocked in a foreign language, which I completely understand, right in front of me over the phone with another professional who's going to be involved in the case, was beyond the pale. Shocking. Well, I'm going to sign off, Internet fam. Don't have much more to say about all this. Everett and Grace, when you get older and get access to a computer and get to watch these videos, just remember your dad loves you very much, and he jumps through every possible hoop in order to be able to see you, even the humiliating and degrading hoop that he jumped through today by a professional who didn't even recognize the names of experts in her field that I know, and I am merely an amateur in that field. Love you all, Internet fam. Hope you're having a better day than me.